That's right, fellow armchair Imagineers. It's late Tuesday night, and we're actually on time on Tuesday night this time around. And we're reaching into the Just Giggle It grab bag one last time in season 1 before taking a brief hiatus of exactly 7 days. It's Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome back, folks. We are on season 1, episode 10 of the Just Giggle It grab bag. Tonight we are talking about 912, which is the first sketch of Just Giggle It, and the World Marriage Fighting Championships, which BlueDragonFive and I think we kind of unanimously agree might be one of the finest hours for the channel.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
So essentially what we're doing here, folks, is we're kind of going sort of in reverse here, where we're looking at like one of the high points, one of the pinnacles of Just Giggle It, and then we're kind of we're going in reverse order, and we're looking at a sketch that is it's very polarizing, it's very dark, it contains a racially questionable joke, but I think it's a really interesting and fascinating starting point and thesis statement for what Just Giggle It would eventually become. So with that in mind, folks, we're going to be talking about the World Marriage Fighting Championships before going and transitioning into 912. What's your emergency? Dragon, I have some headcanon for 912 that I can't wait to get into.
Kind of funny. I have some canon of my own for World Marriage Fighting Championship.
Okay. So, my God, Dragon, let's start with the World Marriage Fighting Championship, because this is just Dragon, just kind of in a nutshell with my thoughts on this one. I love how it starts in one place with a fight, and the whole thing is just unconventional, of course, with, I love how it's like, it's it's kind of like a mundane sort of like, realism to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have the referee in the house. It's like all these details of what a fighting thing would look like are there, but they're going about, I don't know, Drake, and I'm kind of struggling to find the right words here, but
Well, see, folks, this is kind of our. It's a parody in a sense that they nailed so. Oh, I'm sorry, Tika. Before we go any further, you're going to feel very sheepish here. We forgot to make the plug.
That's right. Make the plug, folks. All right, folks. I will make this quick, and I will do it in my WWE announcer voice. Folks, get ready to go see Harley Quinn and the Joker as you've never seen them before in one of the ultimate fan film projects on YouTube. It's Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the real world. In this corner, Harley Quinn and the Joker moving on from Gotham City to face Los Angeles. In this corner, the real world, a whole cast of characters ready to take on Harley Quinn and the Joker and their madness. Who will come out ahead? You'll have to watch episode 5 to find out. Link in the description. I just pulled that all right out of my ass, Dragon.
That's why I host Disney debates. All right. Seriously, folks, check out Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the Real World, episode 5. If you love Just Giggle It, if you love quality works of fan film, if you just love comedy in general, watch that series, but especially watch that episode, because you know what you do, folks. You make the world a better place by getting us more episodes of that phenomenal web series. We could spend a whole nother podcast on the nice things about that web series, and again, the potential of that web series. But we don't have time for that. We're going to talk about World Marriage Fighting Championship, which is the 59th sketch of Just Giggle It. It was written, directed, and edited by Jason Ramlow, who I got to say, Jason Ramlow did a phenomenal job with this, just top marks all around. And it's kind of our loose parody of the evening, because it kind of satirizes and parodies kind of the world of kind of commentated sports of boxing and wrestling. There's definitely a lot of boxing. There's a little bit of the kind of the showboatiness of wrestling, but there's definitely a whole lot of boxing and a little bit just in general kind of sports commentary, like kind of the retired players and kind of
what I love about this sketch, Dragon, is we get that kind of transition where early on we get that elaborate setup and we think it's going to be about one thing, but then by the end of the sketch, it's about something else entirely, which is Poncio's glorious mental breakdown.
You know, I did have a I did have a ridiculous observation about Alex Poncio.
Please tell me. Please tell me.
So this is just something only you
I
and
love
I
his
are
name, by the way. Bob
I know,
Jennifer.
me too. I love it. Bob Jennifer. It's a great so this is something only you and I are going to appreciate, by the way. But as we learned, Bob's ex-wife's name is Barbara, and
here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. I was even writing her name down as Babs as shorthand, dragging in my notes.
But you thought the same thing, didn't you? So I was saying with the mustache and the red tie, just kind of like it's kind of the sad sack demeanor. It did vaguely remind us of Gotham a little bit, and just kind of perhaps like a future for the James Gordon character in sports commentating. It's I don't know, folks. For those who may not, for the Just Giggle crew watching who may not be aware, I'm a huge fan of the character of Commissioner James Gordon, and since Tiki and I we cover the show Gotham, so imagine Barbara giving Poncio a mustache, and he's kind of rang some familiar bells, but that's our own ridiculous headcanon. Anyway, on to what we actually have presented before us here.
All right. I think my headcanon for 912 is even more.
No, that's not the headcanon I was talking about. I was saying that was just like something.
Oh, okay.
That's not we'll get there when we get there. But
okay, so yeah, speaking of the sports stuff, we have this elaborate like CG intro to the World Marriage Fighting Championships. Very well animated.
Oh, certainly. It's a really impressive kind of graphic and introduction. And also, I love there are so many great small details here on the rewatch, Tiki, because as you go through that CG intro, you have all these shots of other couples or that are a main couple in various different arguments, like on the sides as you're going through like the various hallways to like the big kind of clanking metal and everything. By the way, I love the ring logo. You can kind of see it. I don't know, you can kind of see it in the image before us here with WMF. One, I just love that abbreviation, but I mean, just they have basically, it's like a broken ring. I mean, it's not really that clear here, but just in like the main, there it is in the bottom right-hand corner. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So I love that logo there. We have like the two rings kind of interlocked in the hearts. That's really cool. So again, really good graphic design work, and the boxing gloves kind of form the bottom of the heart. So it's all really stunning. So yeah, a lot of great thought went into this one. I was very delighted by it. So basically, the premise of this is we have a husband and wife arguing as the event is comedically dramatized and exaggerated by commentators and a referee.
Yeah, we have the commentators, of course, probably the dream team of Just Giggle It, like the Marvel versus Capcom tag team duo that is Justin Thomas and Alex Joshua Thomas, god damn it. Joshua Thomas and Alex Poncio.
Yeah, it's kind of the Butch and Sundance of Just Giggle It.
Oh yeah.
So yes, Joshua Thomas.
It's great to have them as kind of like the the old veterans.
Yeah. And honestly, in many respects, they are kind of the Laurel and Hardy or Abbott Costello of Just Giggle It many a time.
Yeah. And then we have, I love the referee dragon. I love kind of like the illogical logic, I think was the phrase I was looking for here. This sketch is filled with illogical logic.
I believe he's played by Ross Copeland or Copeland.
Okay.
It's Copeland. Yeah. Oh, so by the way, of course, the names of our commentators. We have Joe Morris and Bob Jennifer. I'd love to hear the origins of those names because Bob Jennifer cracks me up. It's just it's one thing to have two first names, just one being Bob and the last name being Jennifer. It's a perfect name. I love it. So the referee introduces the Larsons.
In this quarter, returning from a hard day's work, David Larson.
David's played by Jesse McBride. And Jesse McBride, he looks like Jay Johnston from, Jay Johnson from Mr. Show with Bob and David. He looks so much like he's a regular in a lot of the sketches. He looks identical to that guy. A little fun fact there, but yeah. So he's really good. I love, of course, our feuding married couple here. They're played by excellent actors. Jesse McBride playing David.
And in this quarter, she's been chopping vegetables and preparing dinner all night. It's Emily Larson.
Played by the ever so talented Piper Henson. My God, seriously, dude,
Yes.
I again, she does so. A part of me feels like we give her a lot as much praise as we can because I never want to be, I never want to have it seem that we undersell Piper Henson because this episode, my God, does she deliver this episode? She gets a great range to play, and this might be at least out of our first season. Again, I got to reflect because we've had a lot of good stuff with her. I guess this, and for me, I just the whole making a murderer sketch. I mean, that was probably some of my favorite of the Piper Henson performances. But this one has like a full great dramatic range for a little bit of comedy.
I mean, we usually praise her range because she's played everything from like a 12-year-old boy to a 10-year-old girl from the sketches that we've seen her do. But I think that this one is, you're absolutely right. This is one where she really gets to chew on the acting and chew on the role. And it's really just, it's really great to see her really get into it.
All right, so let me hit you with a few things I kind of picked up on here. This is kind of getting into my own kind of headcanon here. I do think there's somewhat of a kind of a almost like I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like an inside out logic to this in respect in that I love so basically we have a couple who have a troubled marriage. And you could interpret this a few ways. You could look at it as kind of like how Inside Out is sort of a dramatization of a girl just kind of going through adolescence as she grows up, and we're just seeing kind of the emotions. Basically, the emotions don't know why they're doing things because that's just like that's the body at work. That's just like her going through her phases, and they're like questioning what's happening. And it's just it's happening because it's happening. And basically, it's like we have this troubled marriage going on. The idea with this line really stuck with me that Emily is the champ. She's the champion of the world of the world marriage fighting. And because of that, that suggests that they fight on a regular basis. And while we have a fun satire with that, like, oh, yes, married couples, they do fight a lot. And what if we kind of turn that into kind of a competitive sport of some variety? But again, there's a lot of really...
This couple is absolutely on the edge of divorce. And it's pretty clear in the... I don't even think that's headcanon, Dragon. I think they pretty much spell that out.
Well, no, what I'm saying headcanon is like the question of if these guys are real or if it's just kind of like just the dramatization of just them having like they're like, are they really there sort of thing.
Oh, right. I think the Inside Out comparison is a good one. I think it's like, like definitely what we're seeing play out is kind of real in their own minds, at least in a metaphysical kind of way. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of seeing like the elaborated version of what they're experiencing.
Yeah, I really think if it's in, there's a chance that a lot of this could be in David's head for reasons we'll get into later on. Because I mean, he's coming home and he's putting on the game, so the guy definitely has like competitive sports on his mind.
Of course, I love how David has invented the tragic backstory for Bob Jennifer.
Exactly. Again, you see reflected in Bob as we'll get through. I mean, Bob has a very reflective arc that connects to David. So again, David learns through Bob's experience. So I think an argument could be made that there is a lot of David could be projecting all of this as to how he feels in his marriage all the time and kind of how he needs to change. So again, I think there's a lot of fascinating things you could read into this. But again, you can still just take it at face value for the absurdity of okay, we have commentators here, we're not addressing it. That we play that perfectly. We don't draw any undue attention to it. We don't like break the fourth wall, and we just it's there in all the ways it needs to be. But at the same time, we have that smart subtext. So again, it's really clever. And as things amp up, the fighting, the common, you'll notice the commentators on the side, they become more and more, called for as things ramp up, because initially it seems like, okay, hey, wait, this is just absurd and funny. But as it goes on, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of getting invested in this marriage fight here. And it's like, yeah, we need commentators for this. So it kind of invests you more in the premise. You buy into the premise more as things heat up.
What I like about the commentary is it's a great mix of like stuff that's genuinely affecting the plot, and then just like really, really mundane details that kind of like add to the tension.
Yeah.
All right.
So David, he greets Emily, and he immediately turns on the game and he grabs a beer. And the thing I always notice the first time I watch is when he gets there, he doesn't kiss his wife. He doesn't say beyond like he barely says hello. Honestly, he just walks in there. He passes his wife, doesn't kiss her, doesn't embrace her at all. grabs grabs the beer and is not helping his wife at all.
He's
So
like, that smells good. And then the referee's on the commentators on the side, like, oh, he gave a passive compliment.
a trite compliment.
A trite compliment. That's the word. That's the word.
So, this, again, also the whole thing, we have excellent framing and camera work. Again, this is where they nail the parody down, folks. Again, not only just this great kind of table, and I love they have like a little monitor. So basically, whatever the camera's seeing is what they're seeing on that little monitor. It's great. So again, the camera work is
Dragon, illogical logic. This sketch has illogical logic out the wazoo.
It's one of my favorite things in storytelling. I love good illogical logic. So this is getting me in all the right places. So let's see. So again, like it looks like it looks more like boxing than wrestling for him. But then again, I guess the camera moves are here's the thing. I think the camera moves are wrestling, but again the commentating and then kind of the back and forth it feels very boxing. So again,
I definitely think it's more boxing because like you said, like the back and forth jabs, like the strategy of it all.
And I make an argument for the history of our. There's a bit of kind of a football kind of like commentator thing going on there on another level for like kind of the history of the sport, which we'll get to
I can see
later.
that.
All right, let's see. So, okay, let's see. So again,
so Piper Henson delivers the "Did you get the milk?"
Yes, the first blow.
Emily lands the first blow.
Ooh,
David will spend the rest of the round trying to recover from that one.
And I love that it makes sense that he forgot the milk, and that's she's going all this work and he's not offering to help out, and he forgot one of the key. It's not even a key ingredient to the dinner. It's just like another thing. It's like, did you get the milk? And he didn't. So he's gonna have to recover from that the whole round. And I love that he literally is recovering that from the whole round. The milk is like the huge kind of sticking points, the huge kind of open invitation for kind of verbal blows within the argument.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So David offers, and I love this there. Again, this is like typical, it's typical marriage thinking, where David, he's not quite reading the subtext. And again, I think part of us we do identify with Dave, and that someone you forget the milk, you want to make amends for that. He offers to go out and get it, but then she says the word you never want to hear your wife say.
It's fine.
It's fine. And Piper Henson, she nails that just right, as if she were a married woman, which I don't think.
No, I can run to the store. I'll be 5 minutes.
It's fine.
Okay, you know what? Don't say it's fine if it's not fine.
It's fine.
And then the announcers on the side, like, it's definitely not fine, Bob. Oh yes, and David knows it.
I mean, folks, this is going to sound like, again, we're just talking her up here, but I swear to God, folks, she communicates the great complexities of the drama are played in the performance with a simple, like, 2-word line. It's fine. Like
every time she says it, it just gets more and more cutting, filled with more and more tension.
Exactly, and again, let's not leave McBride out in the cold here, because again, at the same time, I love the reactions he has throughout all of this. I love him process it. Basically, after that, again, as if it were again fitting into the comedic premise so perfectly, as if he were like hitting the solar plexus, like hitting the face in a boxing match. You see him processing it. I always love the processing look on David's face as he's processing. What do I do next? So, so she's asking about did you get the text I sent about the milk? Oh, it was a crazy day at work. On his way in, he said, "Oh, I thought you said work was good." Aha! So she has him now on the ropes.
And then, of course, we get more hilarious commentary.
That's the bell.
Ooh, David's got to start countering some jabs. And then Ponzio at this point is, he's starting to go off the rails a little bit. He's like, yeah, he's just sitting there taking her shit.
Got it. And yes, but so again, this is where the beauty of the kind of Laurel and Hardy kind of dynamic comes into play here, where Joshua Thomas, what he's just doing here is he's playing the straight man in this here, where he's kind of a more mean-spirited straight man. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean he's kind of like he's not going to let Bob get away scot-free in these comments, but he's trying to like maintain his composure on air. He's trying to still have his head in the game. He's like, that's definitely a strategy, Bob. Yeah, he definitely needs a strategy, Bob. He's basically exemplifying what my guy on the right here. He's kind of losing it right now, but I'm going to interpret what he's saying to the folks at home.
All right, so Dragon, I'm going to hit you with some ridiculous, it's not headcanon, but it just kind of made me think of it. So when Joshua Thomas is going back to the commentary and he's saying, Emily going aggressive on those potatoes. Dragon, that totally reminds me of Jeff Probst's commentary on Survivor challenges, where he commentates on just the most ridiculous, like mundane things.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Like he'll be like, let's see, I'm trying to think of a good example, like Ozzy back with another bocce ball. There goes Ozzy out again. You know what I mean? He'll just like he kind of like he says it in that kind of like phrased manner, where he says the name of the person, then what the person's doing, and it's all very matter of fact. I don't know. The Survivor thing is complicating it. All right, forget I said the Survivor thing. Just how funny is it that that Joshua Thomas just transitions from the really tense-filled scene to Emily going really aggressive on those potatoes.
Yeah. By the way, one of my favorite ideas, one of my favorite recurring elements of this sketch is that, I mean, this is where kind of the vague inside out of it all kind of kicks in here, where I love that in the silences, basically in like them processing what they've said to each other, that's when the bell is, and that's kind of that inside out idea of again, like what's just actually happening to the person. It's just them going through the motions. The rest of it, if it's not in their head, then it's just kind of like this other reactive element to the scene where they can't interfere. Like the ref never touches anybody. They can't do that because again, it breaks the realm of feasibility. Where again, all of this is just a real argument in a marriage happening. And they're kind of processing in their esteem, and they're kind of on the brink there, and that's why they're kind of like while they're kind of catching their breath and kind of finding their second win. That's when the commentators are kind of, whether they're speaking to what they're thinking in their heads or they're just kind of like just this outside kind of Greek chorus almost, is kind of an entertaining Greek chorus, is saying.
I like the idea of the Greek chorus.
That's what I'm saying, like the most entertaining Greek chorus ever, or they're just kind of like the personification of the thought processes. And again, you think about it this way, Tiki. One is on David's side, and one is on Emily's side. So again, it could actually be kind of both sides of the argument through the commentator.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, let's see. So, okay, so we're back from the round. Ding ding.
So David grabs his jacket and heads for the door, and Emily questions where he's going. He's saying to get the fucking milk.
Yeah, and of course they're like, "Whoa,
whoa!"
And she snaps back at him with the dinner preparations. I got up at 5 a.m. this morning to do something with the steak to
marinate the steak.
Marinate the steak. By the way, is that a little logic thing? I'm sure who gets up at 5 a.m. to do that for a steak? Though?
What? For that reason, I'm on David's side when he says,
right?
I'm sorry. I don't recall anyone asking to rearrange your whole day around a steak.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was agreeing with Dave at that point too. Like, who gets up at 5 a.m. to marinate a steak? That's come on. But yes. So again, David's starting to kind of catch a second win in the second round here. He's making some good points against Emily, and Emily fires back at him with
well, at least I don't wait to show consideration.
Yes, until my partner screams at me.
Oh, here we go again. David the martyr.
And then we hear like, whoa! Again, that's where we definitely get the commentators being impressed by, oh man, David's really swinging wild here. And I love this. I love there's kind of a small, I could be absolutely reading into this. I'm just saying, I really want to give this sketch all the credit in the world because I really think it's as smart as it seems here. I think that a lot of this is intentional, where there's a bit of kind of commentary on spectator culture. Where people, like a lot of times, people just kind of watch. It's kind of the Jerry Springer generation, where you watch things because you want to see people argue. And it's like kind of a dynasty or the Jerry Springer generation. You want to see people just be really mean to each other, kind of soap opera of it all, where you just kind of, people will say, "Yeah, you go, girlfriend," or something like that. Just like they'll be on. They just want to watch the carnage unfold, and they want no part of it. Of course,
Dragon, welcome to 1998, where "you go, girlfriend" is the hottest phrase.
I just keep thinking of that bit in Freakazoid where Ricardo Montalban as Gutierrez just "Go, girlfriend."
Okay.
Anyway, the point is spectator culture. It's kind of, I think there might be a little bit of subtext, like just them on the sidelines going, "Whoa!" Anyway.
Okay, so Emily's just firing, like, do not leave the room when I'm talking to you.
I love that he exits frame, by the way. He exits frame as the referee enters to keep the frame in. Interesting. And again, like, the referee's he's doing a fantastic job, even though he says very little. I love it.
Right, right. And then, from across the room, David's like, I'm not who you need right now, Emily. Oh, and what do I need? You need a crucifix.
I love that line so much. Yeah, that's the big bell thing. Like, yeah, David had a good line.
Ooh.
All right, so it's the end of the round, and then of course,
and I love how David's son is his traitor.
So okay, so the kid is a fascinating element of this whole thing. I was wondering how I was going to feel about the kid because I knew the premises. I didn't know there was going to be. I didn't know they had a kid. I was watching this the first time. I was like, okay, a kid enters the fray, and I love that the kid is kind of referred to as his young coach.
Yes, his young coach.
So he has his 12-year-old son advises him to do the wise thing and apologize. So again, it's like it's kind
That's
of
right, Bob. He needs to lose the battle if he wants to win the war.
Which is a great line, and it's a really smart observation too. And again, kind of what marriage will compromise. You got to lose the battle sometimes to win the war. It's always about who's the bigger person in a way. And so the kid. The kid is kind of distracted. So again, that's kind of taking the edge off. He's like playing his game. He's the logical kid in the room, I guess, in like the den technically. However, I do like there is a small element of sadness there. Of course, the marriage is on the line. By the same token, if this is regular terms, this poor kid here is just burying himself into. He might be burying himself into his game while the parents go at it like this.
Sure.
You don't know. Okay, so Bob. Oh yes, Bob has at Poncio. He number of winning deliveries here. So Bob says, if I listened to my kids every time they said apologize to mommy, I'd still be married.
Well, that sounds like a good thing, Bob.
You never lived with Barbara.
And here we go. Then starts the saga of Barbara, which kind of weaves its way through the rest of the sketch.
Oh yes, and then the bell dings. Let's see. So then David thinks he's going strong here. Where he basically makes the comparison to remember the shed that I built.
If I forgot a box of nails, I would not attack you for it.
Yeah, basically says she's kind of crazy for attacking him for the stuff, and he says that's not crazy. I'm just looking for a little reciprocation. And he just says, "What about the milk? No, it's not about the milk."
That, I think, is Piper Henson's high point in the performance. It's just, you can really feel the tension right there.
Oh, yeah, you betcha. So then we have this great point, and David really has her on the ropes with this line here. It basically says, well,
when I say it's fine, it's actually fine. It's not a passive-aggressive fuck you.
Exactly. The whole passive-aggressive milk bit. It's like, who says it's fine when it's not fine? Why can't you be direct, essentially? So she's caught off guard by this, and Tiki, these are the details I'm really loving with Piper Henson's performance here. And again, they're calling to it. I really wonder how much improvisation that Joshua Thomas had in this scene, because I mean, a lot of this was written by Ramlo, so I don't know how free he felt to improvise or not. I don't know, bear in mind they're like 59 sketches into it. I don't know, they probably have a rhythm going at this point. I don't know. The point is, it sounds like we could have just Piper Henson doing something, making an acting choice, and then Thomas or one of our guys on the side here commenting on it. So they could be improvised. I'm not entirely sure. Where basically she has this bit where she stares off, and Joe Morris calls her on this. Says, "Oh man, look at her! She's just staring off." It's kind of a smart choice, like the ambiguous choice. Oh man, she's staring off, kind of finding her next insult. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
So Henson has the performance down. Honestly, just in general, she has the performance down to a science as a fighting strategy here. Basically, we get to see she's kind of channeling kind of the actor's choice into the fighter's strategy, and we kind of see that transfer very seamlessly here. Where again, she's making all of her choices very deliberately, and then she hits below the belt with, "I married a child."
Then David comes back with, "I married a bitch."
Oh yeah.
And then of course the announcers are reacting to that like, "Oh, below the belt, even more below the belt."
So then we get some real.
That's right. Tell him, David, you're your own person.
I love that line so much. I just love the way Ponzio says that too. He says again, like he's so identifying with David in this round. And again, it's just there's like maybe like some sort of link between these two, where he says, "Stand up for yourself, David. You're your own person," because he wants to live vicariously through David. He wants to be, yeah, you're your own person. I made the right life choices. Tell me that. Reassure me, David. That's kind of what he's saying in that.
Basically, yeah.
Then we have a lot of really petty mom jokes here.
Yeah, this is probably the low point of the sketch.
No, I say petty in that they're going really below.
I know. I'm not a fan of these jokes though. They're just kind of like a little too below the belt. I don't know.
Well, I won't argue with you there, but I mean that's kind of the point. They're supposed to be hitting kind of lowbrow. Basically, when they're out of gas in the fight, basically when they get really emotionally raw, they're kind of doing instinctual stuff, which is really, not clean and not kind of, not kind of professional. I just mean again like the two fighters, like they're going like real kind of down and dirty in the fighting techniques here.
All right, so let's see. So Emily goes at it with whenever you run out of milk at your mother's house, you can just breastfeed. Well, at least my mom has tits.
Yes.
Then she goes on, well, you know what? I might have small tits, but they're better than those bloated cow udders attached to your mother's chest. Then the announcers are like, oh, and that's why she's the champ.
And one of my favorite fighting kind of parables to fighting in this whole thing is when Joshua Thomas likens the move to a haymaker. It's like, yeah,
had the edge, but then Emily came in with a haymaker.
Classic boxing. And folks, I'm not a sportsman at all. I just, I like terms like haymaker. They stick out from, basically I've had to do research for fighting and stuff. So haymaker. But yeah.
All right. Okay. So then, let's see. Then David does something that really pisses Ponzio off. He makes a period reference.
No, folks, we're not talking about we're not talking about like a certain era in history. We're talking about a different sort of period joke.
Yeah.
So, what do you think this is, Tinder?
It's world marriage. Like this that made me retire from the world marriage fighting. Okay,
now this is interesting here. So, this is where my headcanon comes in here. So, what I love here, and I absolutely think this is where they're going with it, Tiki, is that the idea that Bob was a fighter and that in his own marriage, his marriage fighting was another championship like these guys are going through. Basically, when a divorce happens, that's when the fighter has to retire.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty spelled out. I don't, like I said, I don't really even think that's headcanon. I think that's pretty Dragon. Honestly, let's just have this conversation right now. Like, if Just Giggle It, the sketch show, were to turn any sketch into a Wayne's World style SNL movie, I think this would be one of the ones to consider.
This does have kind of a vague Wayne's World vibe about it, because it feels like something almost like in Wayne's World 2, where we'd have like an offshoot.
That's what I'm saying,
a gag on the side. Now, of course, folks, you were advocates of Wayne's World 2. We had a good time with that movie. I think Tiki's a bigger fan of it than I, but, I enjoyed it.
I love Wayne's World 2.
Yeah. Garth had a really weird time finding love in that movie, but it's.
Anyways,
I like Dana Carvey when he's good, and not just kind of left to his own devices. So anyway, getting back to the point, that idea, that line about him retiring, that just gave me that whole idea of like, oh my god, yes, he has to be a retired fighter, and divorce is the retirement. And basically, like any sport, like a football player, someone who retires, you become a commentator. I thought I love the world building of that. That wowed me so much. Like, there's so much great, clever world building with a line like that. And again, in only like a 9-minute sketch, they're world building. That's impressive.
Sure.
All right, so let's see. So then they really start swinging. They're getting real between rounds here. They're kind of almost trash talking each other in the corners, essentially here, where David has the really cutting line.
Why did I ever marry you?
It's kind of gasp worthy, and then he says, "I'm tired of being your mother." And cook your own potatoes, and she walks out.
Ooh, no! Power move. Walks right out the front door. A dumbstruck David looks at the door, contemplating early retirement.
Yeah, so again, then the bell dings. So then David is processing this, and I love that. This is probably my if I. There's so many good jokes in this. There really are. This I think I laughed the hardest at this bit. The referee is checking David as he's kind of stupefied and processing this, and I love that so much. It's like waving in front of his face. It's like when the boxer's been conked out, and he's just like he has to see if he's in fighting shape. So like my God, this like again that's them selling the parody so naturally within the thing. It's like it's a parody so natural that it almost ceases to be a parody. That's kind of what they're doing here in this whole sketch. I think it's like kind of the highest form of parody you can achieve in a way.
Uh-huh.
So again, this is where the heart. Honestly, I think the heart of the whole thing really starts to come into play here, uh, where or Bob.
It starts to hit Bob. And this is where Bob really starts to shine.
And again, this is also where I may have jumped the gun before. This is where the whole retirement thing I think really locked in my mind. Here, the whole basically says, oh, he's contemplating divorce, which basically means it can mean retirement. And when we mentioned retirement there, that's the world building line right there. It could mean retirement for him.
And then Ponzio just kind of proceeds to go on this big rant about like it means lonely apartments and nights of Chipotle dinners and heart-crushing blind dates and soul-sucking weekends of your son talking about how cool Mom's new friend is.
I just love that it's Mom's new friend. It's not like Mom's boyfriend or anything. It's Mom's new friend. It just sounds so sad and hilarious. So I love this. I love Joe again, just getting uncomfortable with Bob's kind of breakdown on air here, but I love at the same time Joe is just so unsympathetic to Bob here as he reminds Bob with like smile on his face. And again, honestly, folks, I don't know what it is, but sometimes the secret to great comedy is a mustache. I don't know what to tell you. It's just sometimes
this sketch is living proof of that. Honestly,
is that seriously? It's like basically you add a mustache on these two, specifically Joshua Thomas here, because with that mustache, it makes every smile just a little bit slightly meaner, a little bit more pointed or exaggerated. So he's basically saying these harsh, true things with a big professional smile on his face as an announcer, saying, as he reminds Bob, just so unsympathetically to Bob, well, Bob, I told you leaving your wife for a 20-something-year-old wasn't a good idea. Was a bad idea, and you still never returned my copy of Lolita I lent you to read.
Yeah, I stopped reading it after it got past the sexy point parts. Well, that's the point, Bob.
Folks, just again, so folks, sometimes just mustache equals great comedy. Sometimes it's that simple. It really is.
Right. So David goes down to apologize, and Emily just kind of lays it out on the line. It's our anniversary.
So again, the camera work and the referee following him, and the camera following him at the same time is just so perfect, so well shot. And then they have the big heart to heart, and he kind of explains himself, and he admits that. I love he tries to pretend like he remembered the anniversary, then he breaks and he says, "Yeah, I forgot." So as the announcers say, David's getting neutered out there, because basically like they'll lose basically the KO in the fight if you say I'm sorry. That's how the marriage.
I love how Joshua Thomas is just like he's on the chains, just being like really excited and into the fight. Meanwhile, Bob is just breaking down.
He's just getting so maudlin over Barbara and seeing the parables.
Here's a picture of Barbara and I on a trip to Greece. Not the time, Bob.
So then on the flip side, Emily, she's getting emotional and again very well, and she feels that David doesn't go the extra mile. Here's where really Bob breaks down. Just David doesn't go the extra mile, and David sheds a single kind of Tobey Maguire tear here, and then he apologizes.
She's right. I was so selfish. She always did everything, and I never did anything.
I never went the extra mile either. And focus up, Bob. I just love that. Focus up, Bob. So then David says he'll make more of an effort, and then she wraps her arms around him for a hug, and it's like, oh, ain't that cute? And the referee, he calls it, and he finally says something after introducing him. He announces Emily as the winner, and then we have this sweet kind of almost like a Mean Joe. It's like a perfect button on the fight. It's like almost like a Mean Joe green coconut smile. Almost, where he says, I'll go back to making the dinner. And then as he's walking away, he walks away like Mean Joe Green in this scene. It's like, again, it's very athletic. Again, hence the Mean Joe Green, but all kind of the sports analogy here. It says, hey, honey, 2% or whole. And then it's just the perfect little button on and all that.
And there goes David off to get the milk. Bob, are you crying?
So then Poncio is thinking, Poncio, again, as we've seen with just the Connected All here, just again to another little mini plug here, folks. Poncio to Joker and Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the real world with his character Howie on that. Howie is kind of that lovable, sad sack character. We do see the inklings of, well, then again, we had him performing Howie before this, because this is, after this, we had Harley Quinn and Joker episode 3. The point is, you see the correlation between Howie and kind of what Ponzi is doing here. So he gives like kind of that lovable sad sack here, where he addresses, he tries to apologize to Barbara live on air. And Tiki, do you have Thomas's line here?
Oh, let me see.
He says so maliciously and so professional.
Yeah. Crap, sorry. I'm so alone.
But Joe Morrissey says, well, Bob, the time to say you're sorry was when you were married.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm sorry, yeah.
All right, see you next time. And for the rematch. And again, the rematch is sort of like, it's a practical view. These folks, they're going to have more fights in the future. It's bound to happen. We'll be here for it. No, of course, he also says, hi, Barbara. And as he says hi, hi, Barbara, Bobby's throwing the papers, is all distraught, and it's like, oh, what was me? And then, of course, we have a little code at the end with the subscribe, basically a little shout out to subscribe, where we have Jesse McBride kind of overselling the subscription, the Just Giggle with plug and Piper, and so okay, that'll
all right, that's it. That's all. End it there.
Yep.
Okay, Dragon, I gotta be honest with you, man. This sketch is such a high point that I almost kind of feel like, I don't know, like I guess we could go on to 912, but my God, like I feel like we had such a good time just breaking down this one sketch. What do you think?
I think we owe it to him. We got to do 912.
All right, let's do 912. But final thoughts on this?
Final thoughts. Honestly, the only missed opportunity is in that little subscription thing at the end. Where they're staged as if they're like a whole after a TV show where they have the hi, we're the actors on this show. And we just want to say the events that unfold in the show before you, it's very serious matters. It almost felt like they could have done that, but they didn't do it. It's like the only gripe I have is like a little subscription plug at the very end. But seriously, this is perfect. It's brilliant with a flawless execution. I love using kind of man's attachment to a game and a woman's attachment to to the expression of basically expressing your feelings and interpreting that struggle into this this really interesting satirical mix. I mean, we took those two elements and we fused them together. They're like man's obsession with sports and women's obsession with kind of talking about your feelings, and we just we melded it together in this brilliant kind of maelstrom of comedy. And it's a parody in the sense of the execution, and in that sense, it's done so exceptionally well. It's so on the money. I love, at the end of the day, again, it's a parody of that so well without the parody getting in the way or like kind of coding your experience with it. I love that it's a parody with a little more to it. I love that there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of laughs, but there's heart and there's some really interesting subtext, and it's so smartly done,
Yeah, it's a logical logic at its finest, and I like how there's so many moving pieces to it, and all the pieces just kind of come into play so well, with the announcers on the side kind of getting their own story arc by the end of it and kind of stealing the show by the end of it in a way. And like I said, I love the whole setup of it. I can't get over how clever it is, and as Dragon and I can kind of attest to it, leads to some kind of clever world building in your own head. Yeah. So I guess with that in mind, Dragon, let's go back to the past. Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack. What?
Oh no, I am Asian. I should not be driving.
Oh God, Tiki. Anyway. Let's build. So yeah, so this is 912. The 911.
I told you. I said it would have been a high point to end on.
That was the best. You mean?
But no. Now we have to end on the Asian joke.
Okay, first of all, we'll get there when we get there. All right, just.
I told you, Dragon. I wasn't just doing it to like puss out of talking about this. All right, we could have ended it there, but no. Now we have to talk about this.
You know, unless we have Poncio and Joshua Thomas here immediate, I don't think we should fight on air. Think of the children, Tiki. Think of the children.
All right.
Anyway, so they have 912.
Okay, and I'm not even calling this a bad sketch. This is definitely a divisive sketch, but it's the first. It's not the first recorded, but it's the first uploaded sketch in the Just Giggle It library.
Yes, because the first recorded sketch was the Social Not Work, the Facebook parody sketch. So this is a 911 emergency fail, the very first sketch. It is directed by Yuka Kadono. I think that's how you pronounce her name. It was written by Joshua Thomas. Jury's out on the editor. I would just safely assume Joshua Thomas because he usually likes to kind of wear multiple hats on things. So. All right, so actually, Piper Hinson, she had the idea for this. She had kind of the what if idea of. What if you dialed 911 wrong, which is kind of a precursor to kind of the whole search bar concept of Just Giggle It. The whole what if you type in a concept and you have like the robot chicken effect.
Sure, that's right. Again, yeah.
Again, I think the jury's still out on like if they were directly influenced by robot chicken or not. The point is, it's a similar notion. Let's see.
Okay, and really quickly, Dragon, my headcanon in this is that the 912 operator that we see in this sketch is none other than Phoebe from Friends.
Oh my god, that's kind of cool. I can totally see Piper Hinson.
That's where Phoebe from Friends ended up.
I could so totally see Piper Hinson as Phoebe Cates. As Lisa Kudrow. I keep thinking of Phoebe as the character's name. I always mix that up. The point is Lisa Kudrow.
Oh god.
I'm thinking Gremlins all of a sudden with Phoebe Cates. It's not important. The point is, okay. So we start. So again, interesting. Again, before the search bar, it kind of predates the search bar on things here, where we have. We hear the screen's black and we hear the horrific car crash. And of course, it's a budgetary constraint, but by the same token, it was a smart choice because it allows you to, it's going to be more horrifying what you picture in your mind than what you'd ever see. So, horrific car crash, and we see dialed on the screen 912.
912, I predict you have an emergency.
Piper Hinson as a classic.
Oh my god, Dragon! If there's ever a first role, this is a great first role for Piper Hinson in the Just Giggle It canon.
Oh, you betcha! So it's Piper Hinson as kind of the classic, it's the old fun cliche. It's the classic phone. Not even just, here's what cracks me about the phone psychic. She's a classic phone psychic with all the trimmings. I assume she sees clients in person. But here's the thing, though. I mean, she has the headset and everything lined that would suggest that first and foremost she's a phone psychic before she's an actual smoke and mirror psychic.
Sure.
And she has all the trimmings, and it's the fact that if you're a phone psychic, why would you doll yourself up like this? Again, only to sell the gag, and you need it. I'm just saying, on Earth.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I have some insight into this because there's some phone psychics near my area. To me, I think it kind of just completes the illusion. If you go in and have a meeting with them or something, or and they have their TV commercials, and so they always want to kind of keep that public appearance about themselves. I don't know. They're very eccentric people, Draken, as you might guess.
I gotta tell you, I'm just saying. While you're saying that, I just want to see more locations in the strip mall in Better Call Saul season 4 to see a phone psychic or
oh my god, yes.
I want to see all the small businesses on the side of Saul Goodman.
Right.
Anyway, getting back on point here, as we go down a rabbit hole, Better Call Saul, folks. Better you believe us. Okay, yeah. So again, Piper Hinson, the phone psychic, all the trimmings. Joshua Thomas plays the husband. He plays husband man. So
husband man, not Jump Man, not Superman, not even Spider-Man. Husband man.
Yes, it's an old Jeff Dunham joke. Okay, so Okay, so Joshua Thomas, he thinks he's calling the 911 operator, and then we have either the most malicious or the dumbest psychic
Oh
ever.
my god, or both.
Yes. Or like
Which is
oblivious, like
honestly why I have that Phoebe connection in my mind with this character, because Phoebe is both malicious and dumb to different degrees.
but so lovable at times.
And you know what? Piper Henson is nothing but lovable.
You know, I was always iffy on Phoebe's backstory on Friends. I loved Lisa Kudrow. I love what she did with it. It's just always when we got like Phoebe's backstory, aside from like when she met her father. I love the episode where she met her father, but the other stuff though, it's like, you know, I like we made her a street kid. We all stuff. It just feels like kind of like a cheap kind of cure all. Like, oh, that's why she's off the wall. She grew up on the streets.
Right.
Anyway, off of the Friends tangent. So now this is fascinating though. This is a really fascinating detail. And I love this. That her off the wall prediction is that, are you a woman? Are you Asian? So in a way,
she was sowing the seeds, sowing the seeds.
So she was kind of right.
Okay, that's kind of my headcanon for this too, Dragon, is that she is an effective psychic in some way. She just doesn't know how to apply it to the emergency at hand.
Exactly. So we have a man basically calling an ambulance after his wife is, after his wife got into.
Well, first of all, I love how he's like, my wife was in a car accident. Well, don't tell me that. That's half the fun.
I gotta tell you, a part of this reminded me of Miss Piggy from the the very Muppet Christmas movie, where she was a Jamaican phone psychic. Do you remember that? Where she
yes,
she got home business and everything, just like the cheesy phone psychic world.
Nothing and so Joshua Thomas over the phone, he's just like, I'm a white man. Oh, and I'm sensing you're distraught. Are you kidding me? Yes, I'm distraught. My wife is hurt really, really bad. We swerved and her airbag didn't go off.
So, of course, Just Giggle style here, we're being very practical and very real world, like true to life, and we're not shying away from any of the dark depravity of what actually happens.
I would wait to say this sketch, for being the first one, it might very well be the darkest of all the Just Giggle It sketches.
And again, performance, Joshua Thomas's performance. Basically, it's kind of the, I don't mean like a marriage in a romantic sense here. It's kind of the perfect marriage of our founders here. We have the marriage of kind of our performances. And so funny, we've seen in many a sketch by this point, they can do both sides, but I love this kind of the marriage and kind of how they're the perfect yin and yang to each other in this scene, where Joshua Thomas is bringing the great dramatic heft. Piper Henson's bringing the bubbly comedy.
Sure.
And they're mixing together again. This whole thing, I think, kind of the great element of looking at the very first sketch is that, again, whether or not it was filmed first, is the fact this was uploaded first. This is Just Giggle's Book of Genesis. Without this, you don't really have the channel in many respects. I mean, this is the big make or break. This is like the toe in the water of like, okay,
which is exactly why we decided to save it for last, of course.
Absolutely. Let's hit him with kind of it's like the first product, the second product syndrome here. Like, okay, first product, we got to nail it out of the ballpark, or else that apple too. I mean, we don't know if it's going to fly or not. And here, so again, like the perfect kind of counterbalance to each other here, and they're both very necessary because, again, you don't want to go too dark and you don't want to go too light. Otherwise, it's going to feel like I can't take this seriously. But you should be taking this seriously, but you should also see the black comedy of it all.
Mm.
So again, we have like this great, desperate, dramatic, man.
Vegetarian. What the fuck is your problem, lady? I need an ambulance.
That's like the perfect. I think it's like at the minute point. It's like the perfect kind of midpoint to everything there. Where it's just a vegetarian. There's that pause before he's just like, "What?" And by the way, little cool fun fact to find out about this. So we have really good makeup work on like kind of the blood and everything here. But
see here, yeah.
Now you'll notice there's like glass protruding on them, but specifically Joshua Thomas's face has like this glass protruding on his face. You know what that's made of?
What is it?
Broken CD cases.
Oh, that's clever.
I know, right? They glued these little broken CD cases and, like, put some blood around, like, kind of like, I guess, spirit gum or glued it somehow, attached it to the face. So it looks like it's like glass sticking out. It's like, again, that is great. That's great filmmaking right there. Yeah.
I like that. That's actually, dare I say it, inspirational.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. So after the vegetarian bit here, and then of course, like, I love this. She feels so bothered.
Sir, I can't do your job. I can't do my job if you keep interrupting. So cool it, okay? Okay.
This is, I will predict. I will try and predict the location. Again, she's not helpful whatsoever. So the man is holding his dying. Oh, by the way, so this is Yuka. By the way, the woman that's dying in his arms. That's Yuka Kadono. So she is. Here's the thing. From what I've heard, they say that Yuka didn't stick around with Jessica. She had other pursuits to pursue, but she was one of the original founders. I want to say it was her, Joshua Thomas, and Piper Hinton. I think they were the original three founders. But we got married. They kind of took the whole kind of comedy brigade from their improv.
Of course,
improv day. So I don't know how far that extends because he was all
pretty much all. Poncio goes back pretty far too.
Yeah, you got to remember, almost every performer that we see also has like a side job too. I mean, in the production of each sketch, or like Piper Henson, like I don't think she did the makeup. She may or may not have done the makeup on this, but sometimes she does the makeup, costuming. Sometimes she's the first AD. So people wear many hats on Just Giggle Productions. Yeah, it's a smart production crew, if you ask me. So, as point is Yuka, from what I hear, she's not. Again, she's more of like behind the scenes than an actor. So that's why she's like, well, I don't. Hey, Yuka, we need a body here. You want to be the body? It doesn't require a lot of acting. Sure. So Yuka's basically just trying not to break character and laugh during this. She's portraying the dying wife. So he's holding his wife, and again the dark level of all this is that as every second goes by, her life is exiting her body.
Oh yeah.
So again, the Just Giggle
you are near a road.
So we gotta build this because the road thing is present. So again, it's the Just Giggle stamp of going real dark with the silver lining of comedy. That's what Just Giggle. It's really dark with a little silver lining of comedy that guides you through the darkness. And you're just like, man, we made it out of that dark cave of horribleness. But my God, it was like it was a. I'm so happy to be out of there. My God, we were seeing some real darkness on that road there. So again, we're near a road, and you see her life just slipping away as this happy cut juxtaposed to this happy-go-lucky yet oblivious psychic, just doing her shtick. And I love that she has like the nail file and everything. She's like doing all the motions and everything. Just again, hamming it up for her own benefit. It does not benefit anyone else. Like she's wasting time here. I sense you'll be. This is so dark. I sense you'll be on a quest for new love soon.
Well, that's after he says, "My wife's not breathing right now."
Yeah, like she's not breathing, and things are getting worse for her.
And then, yeah, you're right. Piper Henson comes in with, "Oh, you're going to be on a quest." And then I love how that's a very lucky card, sir.
Oh, and it's so well juxtaposed there, and just the darkness encroaching on the comedy there. It's black humor at its finest. So it's heartbreak, and we have this Joshua Thomas here. These two lines that are heartbreaking, yet the latter is more fun. Is kind of a mixture of funny and heartbreaking. This first line is just absolutely heartbreaking. Gives like the best dramatic performance here. It's just, my wife just died. See, that I'm right.
I'm right. You're gonna have some new love soon.
That's good.
So that's good. I love this. So that's good, Dragon. I love this. So that's good.
So then is hilarious. And this is dark, but with a great kind of self-aware, hilarious kind of connotation to it, where he says, "You're a monster." Now here's the real interesting part, Dave. I want to get your read on this. So she says, I can't quite hear you. Goodbye. When she says, do you think it's her being oblivious, or do you think it's her being devoid of humanity? Like, hey, you call a psychic hotline. I can only do psychic things for you. I can't help you out here. So.
Yeah, I basically think it's her being like, okay, I want to avoid a confrontation.
Exactly. So it's
all right.
I like to read it as oblivious, but I think there's like an inkling of on the rewatch. It's just like, yeah, there's some malice there, man. That's twisted. So then, okay, so. In essence, of course, then we have like the next call. She takes, hello, 912. I predict. Honestly, you know what? Even more than Phoebe from Friends. You know what she kind of reminds me of here now? It just kind of hit me. There's a bit of the Amanda Show with her here.
Amanda Show, huh?
Yeah, the button here. It feels like an Amanda Show sketch at the very.
I could see that.
Because we have it all the time.
I don't know. I think my Phoebe thing is more accurate, but yeah, you're right. It does kind of have some Amanda Show flavor to it.
Well, I mean, specifically the ending. The ending feels like the Amanda Show always ends a sketch and like basically like, okay, then it's gonna be business as usual with the next person coming through, like a little like refreshing. It goes full circle with the sketch. Kind of vaguely Amanda Show vibe with that, but you're right. I'd say there's a little bit Phoebe and the performance, Amanda showing the construction.
Sure, sure.
All right, so then we have the big punchline. Now, here's the thing. This is I would like to call this a safety ending, where this is like the gag that they saved up in case of emergency and that. And I would say this is kind of tantamount to the fart joke for me here from
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, yes. So this is the big punchline of the whole thing. And again, I think this is like a pivotal post-credit scene where you kind of need this. By the same token, you could still just go on a really dark note where it already ends. But this is kind of like the kind of a good, it's a dark punchline, but still like a. Well, let's go through it. So, what does he say, Tiki?
Why didn't you let me drive? Why would you ever drive? You're an Asian female. Right. You're an Asian female and you're not supposed to drive.
Okay, so first and foremost, let's say so again. This is the possibly polarizing joke, and they're very aware of this. And then
I honestly think yes, this is part of it, but I honestly think the whole thing is just really dark and morbid. Like I got to admit, Dragon, when I first saw this, you know, like after rewatching it a couple times, I've really come around on it. When I first saw it, I was like, "Whoa, okay, that was just kind of fucked up for the sake of being fucked up."
Yeah, man, I love that it's again they ended on this broad. Basically, they took a cheap joke, Tegan. This is what impressed me so much. They took a cheap joke to end on, and what they did so cleverly is that they using the sketch that they had before them, they kept building and building so they could get away with taking a cheap joke and kind of turning it into kind of the ultimate kind of punch on. They basically gave it like a cheap, easy to make joke into like this kind of have this kind of masterwork of build around it of like it's like something that may for a moment if it crosses your mind it might cross your mind but it's like it dives into like maybe the deepest darkest part of like of your mind to an extent of like if that crossed your mind during this horrible thing that's happened to this poor man and his wife, you're a bad person. But at the same time, again, it will get you through this journey where you're just kind of in shock and awe. And by the moment you're in shock and awe, then it hits you with, yeah, what you were thinking, the part of you was thinking in the back of your mind, like, are they going to make that joke? And no, they're not going to go there. We're going to go there in the last minutes because this was really dark. We need to lighten it up a little bit. But you're going to see it's not a cheap joke. We earned that cheap joke.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to do that joke, if you're going to do like kind of by numbers joke, and again, they realize this and they kind of put that in there of like, they had two Asian women who worked on this sketch, Yuma, and there was someone else. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but they had some Asian crew on this.
Uh-huh.
It's like, and they realize, it's funny. Let's put it in there. And again, the performance sells it too. Whereas Joshua Thomas, he's selling the absurdity of the ridiculousness. Again, the guy's been through so much, you have to give him like a little laugh at the end there. So it's like, who are you not to laugh at that joke?
Okay, so final thoughts on this, Dragon. Final thoughts on 912. I just, to put it simply, I think it's a really good thesis statement for what Just Giggle It kind of is all about. It's, as you said, Dragon, it's kind of like, it's got a lot of darkness to it, but it's got an air of levity and an air of humor running throughout it as well. It's kind of a simple sketch, like it's a simple idea with an elaborate execution behind it, and it's kind of thought-provoking for how the execution kind of pays off. And that's what I like about the ending, and that's why I think the whole thing kind of comes together, is that you're expecting one thing, you end up getting something else, and the whole thing kind of plays with your expectations in a really wild way. And it's a great first episode by any stretch.
Most assuredly. So for me, final thoughts. This sketch it's the genesis of it all, and it distills the core cell of Just Giggle It. Where again, as we've been saying for at least 10 episodes now, Just Giggle It, it's kind of the spinal tap of comedy. In that, it dials it up to 11. It either dials it up to 11 in absurdity or in a level of kind of building darkness. It'll hit you like in a dark place and kind of find that silver lining of levity in comedy to guide you through, or it's going to be just like it's going to progressively get more. You can crank it up to 11 in terms of absurdity or darkness. It's a perfect. Again, the whole sketch is a perfect distraction for a cheap joke that improves it retroactively. So just from the basis of comedy, I think it's really clever there. It has that great juxtaposition. It's kind of the great marriage of kind of black humor. It's so hilariously absurd, but through such a dark context. It's like kind of it's a perfect kind of balance in a way. It's like a Thanos level of balance for this sketch in many regards. It's smart, it's strong, and it's simple. It's like 2 minutes, and you're just gonna be laughing. Either gonna be in hard, like in a good way, like you're gonna be like hard with a smile on your face. That's kind of what this is. Like again, I think I told you this. I don't know when, Tiki. I think we've had. I think I said this to you at some point. I don't know. I could have sworn it was for this sketch, where one of the cool sells of Just Giggle from our introduction to it through Harley Quinn Joker versus the real world was that a lot of the sketches on Just Giggle It seem like like their version of the Joker that Joshua Thomas's portrayal of the Joker would use this as his comedy search engine, that he would see videos like this, and specifically
Ooh, I like that.
912 is exactly what the Joker would find hysterically funny for all
And
the
of course,
wrong
we
reasons.
also have a lot of other examples of that. We have stuff like Game Night, Serial Mom, uh, Dragon. One of the ones I really want to get to that the Joker would love was Troubling Situation.
Sure. So yeah, so the point is like not every sketch, but I'm saying a large majority of the sketches you could make an
If
argument,
you
especially.
send me home, I will kill myself.
So absolutely, it's kind of like a fun little meta kind of pattern within a number of the sketches. The Joker would find a number of them funny. That's like a testament. Like, oh my God, just Google. They really know their stuff. They're really talented, but by the same token, they go really dark in some places. They find a way to make it like the Joker himself, kind of charismatic and funny, yet being really dark, depending on how you look at it. So again, just Giggle, they're kind of masters of balance in a comedy sketch. So again, this again brings it all to the front. You see why this spawned and just kind of kept the ball rolling, kept them kind of posting more and more sketches, kind of building Just Giggle to the ever growing empire that it is today. And I mean, folks, it's just we've gone through 10 episodes now of 2 sketches each, and it's been a blast. And I tell you, just Giggle It, they cease to amaze us, and we're going to be enjoying talking about more and more stuff from Just Giggle It in the future.
That's right, folks, and that concludes season 1 of the Just Giggle It Grab Bag. But don't worry, we will be back next Tuesday night. And Dragon, for the next 7 weeks, we will be covering the web series that Just Giggle It did that kind of predated Harley Quinn and Joker versus the real world. We're going to be covering Watching You. Now, Dragon, do you have kind of an elevator pitch for this thing?
Yes and no. So here's what's going to happen, folks. So Watching You is a web series that Just Giggle is very proud of, and we definitely have been meaning to get to. I watched the first episode of it. Tiki, have you watched the first episode yet?
No, I haven't. Not
That's
yet.
fine, because here's essentially what we're going to do is I've only seen the first one, and basically we're going to go into each episode clean.
Okay.
So I won't say too much about it now. Let's just say if it's going where I think it's going, it's going to be really interesting, and it's definitely it's definitely going to be a fun ride. It's kind of about these two protagonists who become intertwined in each other's lives, and what seems to be the most unconventional way. And again, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the first episode had me sold to the point where it's like, yeah, we should talk about watching. How should we work it in there? Of course, just kind of reach them. Yeah, let's make a whole season out of it, like a little mini season, like a 7-episode season that cut basically every episode for the next 7 weeks. It's going to be episode Watching You, and you'll get kind of our clean reactions to it. Like, oh my God, yeah, it was just breaking it down. It's going to be,
and then of course after season 2, we'll probably be going back to maybe another 10-episode stretch of covering Just Giggle It sketches, and who knows where we go from there, Dragon. But we're in it for the long haul with Just Giggle It.
And of course, we might spice it up a little, like how we select our sketches and stuff. But of course, folks, just bear in mind though, if you want to stop at a sketch, bear in mind after Watching You, that's when we'll be taking every single suggestion. By all means, put them in now. We'll definitely
put it in now. And I mean, Dragon, ideally, season 3 would be all fan requests. Like if we could make that happen, I'd fucking love that.
You got it, folks. I mean, again, folks, we're your puppets here. I mean, you guys are the Henson Company. We're just eager to participate. As you folks tell us what you want. You want some Grover. You want some Kermit the Frog. By all means, we'll give you some Just Giggle at Kermit the Frog. By all means.
All right. Okay, so thanks for watching, folks, and I predict love in your future soon. So yeah, that's good.